of my favorite books in the Old Testament, and that is Ecclesiasticus, not Ecclesiastes, Ecclesiasticus, also called Sirach. Let's look at the various names for this book because it can be a little confusing. The original Hebrew name is Wisdom of Ben Sirach, Hokmah ben Sirach, or the Wisdom of Jesus ben Sirach. It's Jesus, son of Sirach. The Septuagint, which is the Greek version of the Old Testament, simply calls this book Sirach, Sirach. And if you're reading in Latin text, you'll sometimes see the author referred to as Siracides. That's just a form of Sirach. The Vulgate technically calls it Liber Jesu Filii Sirach, the book of Jesus or Joshua, son of Sirach. Now we get the name Ecclesiasticus because this book was debated in the early church. Should it be read in church or should it not be read in church? And so it gained the name Ecclesiasticus, which just means for the church, a church book. It should be read in church. That was the decision. So it also has the name Ecclesiasticus. This is confusing because there's the book Ecclesiastes, and that is abbreviated as ECCL period, but Ecclesiasticus is abbreviated ECCLUS. And this can be very confusing for people who don't know the distinctions. Modern scholarship has gone back to the term Sirach, and you'll see the abbreviation as SIR. Modern day Jews and Protestants reject Sirach, but Catholics and Eastern Orthodox count it as biblical and inspired by God. Also, recently, parts of Sirach have been found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which confirms that even before Christ, the Jews in the Holy Land were copying, circulating, and studying this important book of Sirach. And many church fathers accepted it, including Clement of Alexandria, Pope St. Damasus I, the Council of Rome, which was in the year 382, and St. Augustine. Now, here's a few facts about the book of Sirach. The book is very long. It's 51 chapters long, and like Proverbs, it has no obvious structure or ordering. There are 6 poems regarding wisdom as personified as a lady. We already saw that in the Book of Wisdom, and we saw it in Proverbs as well. In the final 9 chapters, retell the story from creation all the way up to the flood of Noah and then into the Old Testament. And this section highlights the heroes of faith, and it resembles the book of Hebrews in the New Testament in that famous passage called the Hall of Faith. Another interesting thing about Sirach is that it is quoted repeatedly in the New Testament. Scholars say that Sirach is quoted or referenced in the New Testament 50 or 51 times, so that's quite substantial. One of the reasons that Martin Luther probably didn't like this book is Ecclesiasticus or Sirach chapter 24 has been interpreted as a prophecy of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Of course, this was something that the Protestant reformers didn't like so much, and so it was removed. But in Eastern Orthodox studies and in Catholic liturgy, we see that Ecclesiasticus 24 is used in the liturgy to speak about the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I want to look at one of those passages in particular because it references one of the greatest quotes of Jesus in the Gospel of St. John, where he says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me." That's John 14:6. So keeping that verse in mind, listen to Sirach chapter 24, verse 24. "I am the mother of fair love, and of fear, and of knowledge, and of holy hope. In me is all grace of the way and the truth. In me is the hope of the life and of virtue." So here's a verse from the Old Testament that seems to point forward to this famous verse in John 14:6. And early Christians, when they read this, said, here's a mother, and in her, presumably in her womb, is the way, the truth, and the life. And so Sirach 24, this whole chapter, it's absolutely beautiful. It's probably in my top 5 or 10 passages in the whole Bible of my favorites. In this passage, we read of this mother of fair love who has within her the way, the truth, and the life. And we know that is, of course, Jesus Christ. My challenge for you, Sirach is a beautiful book. It's long. It's 51 chapters. It's going to take some time. But my challenge for you as members of the New St. Thomas Institute would be to purchase a copy of the Little Office of the Blessed Virgin Mary. This is a medieval tradition, and it takes passages from the Canticle of Canticles, Song of Songs, Proverbs, and from this book, specifically Sirach 24, and it brings them together with the Psalms, and it's a devotional on the incarnation of Jesus Christ. It has readings about our Lord, readings about Our Lady as the mother of our Lord, and tying all the Psalms and prophecies together. It's a great devotion. I keep it on my nightstand. I don't do it every day, but it is part of my devotional life, especially in times like Advent. So check it out. It's called The Little Office of the Blessed Virgin Mary. It's a blue book about that thick. And I would encourage you to get the version that's printed by Baronius Press. It's the 1961 version. Don't get a new one. Get that old one. It has the Latin on one side and the English on the other. So again, thanks for being a member of the New St. Thomas Institute, and God bless.